I should really start by apologizing for the lack of videos recently. It's mostly just been a picture of me being busy with life stuff and a huge lack of motivation to make anything. So yeah, sorry about that. Don't you worry though, because today I'm coming back strong with a banger all about Noli, the newest killer in Forsaken, who is finally released after a painful 6 bloody months of patiently waiting. Originally, I was just going to do a gameplay video, but I've since changed my mind because I thought that would just be a bit boring. So instead, this video will mostly be me picking apart Noli and talking about the many things I like and the many things that I actually don't like. Just giving my general opinion, basically. Yes, that's right. My opinion! So, if you don't agree with everything I'm about to say, please don't feel the need to fill my sinuses with urine or, I don't know, like invert my ribcage or something. Brace your puckered butthole, nerds. Let's talk about Noli! Now, you see, I actually don't really have any other place to put my little subscriber jingle in this video, so I'm just gonna put it here. Hope you don't mind. Psst! Hey, you! Yeah, you! Listen to me. If you don't smash the subscribe button right now, I'll come to your house and murder you in your sleep! Do it! Do it now! Also, if you're interested, maybe consider joining my cult. I mean, community Discord server, where we can all have so much fun together. The link is in the description below. Well, have you subscribed yet? Good. Now relax, buddy. Enjoy the video. I'd actually like to begin by singing the developer's praises, in that I actually think Noli ended up being pretty balanced on release. I understand how hard it can be to balance a character, especially if they're a killer in a game like this. So, props to them for making a character who I don't think is too weak or too strong. That's just my opinion though, I don't know. What do you think? I know how much trouble they went through when creating this guy. I believe he's gone through like several complete reworks during development over the last 6 months, which is obviously one of the main reasons why it took so long to release. And I'm grateful that they made these changes to make Noli feel as like intuitive as possible. And even if I don't completely like how his current kit works, I appreciate the lengths they went to make him more balanced. Okay, now I have a point that I am just itching to talk about. I just need to get this topic out of the way off the bat. Noli's chase theme. Specifically his bass chase theme. Oh my good god! Now listen, I've tried my absolute hardest to be neutral about this song in my Discord server, but now that I've heard it in game, I just have to talk about it. Look, no hate to Vlad, but holy shit, Null and Void kinda sucks donkey ass. This is absolutely one of the most exhausting chase themes I've heard in any game ever. It's so loud and so goddamn grating, and I genuinely just cannot stand to listen to it more than I have to. I don't even mind the speedcore genre, but oh my god, this song just sounds like snare spam and irritating noises randomly stacked on top of each other. It's like it's not even fucking music! I've been genuinely getting these like sharp headaches when I'm like playing against Noli, and especially when I play as him, because I'm listening to the exact same looping section over and over again every single time I'm in a chase, which, if you didn't know, is actually all the fucking time. Of course you're allowed to like it. If you do, good for you. But if you genuinely think this song sounds better than the old version, the one I have playing in the background right now, I'm sorry, but you are completely delusional! You can argue all you want about how it fits Noli more, or that it makes him more scary, as if this dickhead isn't constantly spouting hashtag dank memes every time he does something. Oh, and just because it fits the character more does not make it automatically good. I'm sorry. I genuinely have no idea why the hell the old one was even scrapped, when it's probably one of the best songs I've heard from this game to date. Forsaken developers have this strange habit to take away great things and replace them with simply worse versions of them. And look, no hate to Vlad at all. I'm actually upset that so many people are harassing them over this song. It's a decent theme and they did a pretty good job on it, but I just cannot bear to listen to it over and over again without needing breaks. Now, thankfully, just after this script was written, they released a patch with a sensitive music mode setting that allows you to switch off Noli's bass chase theme and it replaces it with Jason's. I'm genuinely so grateful for this. Thank you, Forsaken developers. Right, I've said enough about the music. Now let's talk about Noli's gameplay itself. His abilities. We'll start with his passives, probably the most disappointing part of him, that being his hallucinations. Now, Noli's hallucinations are probably the most hyped up part about him, and is the main selling point. There's a unique gimmick or a reason to use every killer, and this is Noli's. Unfortunately, Noli's hallucinations seem to be, quite, what's the word? Inconsequential. They mess with your head a bit, sure, but don't really affect the actual gameplay against Noli, only serving to slightly buff Void Rush, but we'll discuss that more later on. They legitimately don't do anything else. Sure, every now and then, something will happen. You might get bombed by a fake version of Noli who just keeps, like, rummaging around inside your ass, but it doesn't matter! It literally does not matter, because it's not real. None of it's real! I honestly wish his main abilities leaned in more on this gimmick and were more centered around being able to control and influence these hallucinations. I think that would have been way more interesting. Either that or make the hallucinations have some sort of punishment if you fall for them, right? You try to stun a fake Noli, you could gain weakness. You try to pick up a fake pizza or use a fake dispenser, gain slowness. I don't know. Something like that to just make some kind of difference, you know? So the result is that the only real use of hallucination is to highlight players, and that's about it. And sure, it does a good job at it, yeah, but I wish there was just a bit more to it on Noli's side. His other passive, Prankster, is also just kind of annoying and doesn't really affect the gameplay much. It simply adds a few fake generators onto the map that give survivors stacks of hallucinations the more they're completed. They're mostly just there to waste time, as completing them doesn't actually bring the timer down, and they just reset if they're finished. I'm also pretty sure you don't actually receive the rewards for completing them. If you didn't know, you can tell which of the generators are fake because of tiny discrepancies on the generator. For example, the progress bar might be a different shade of green, you might receive an incorrect amount of money and XP for completing a puzzle. The money can also be in the wrong currency, apparently, although I've never seen that, and some other things. So, because of this, you can only tell if a generator is fake after you've completed one puzzle, which guarantees at least one stack of hallucination, which, in turn, highlights you for Noli to see, which is, fairly useful when paired up with his observant ability that we'll talk about later. I assure you, though, right now, that anyone who isn't completely brain dead will not be affected by this passive. I don't really have much to say other than that. It's just a slight inconvenience. Overall, Noli's passives are, well, they're trying to be interesting. Sure, they're unique, but once you learn Noli's tricks, you'll just learn to ignore them completely. They really don't make much of a difference unless you're a stupid fucking idiot. Now, on to the main course. His abilities. Starting with his M1, where Noli stabs forward with his shadow tendril, whatever the fuck that is. And unfortunately, I believe this to be, without a doubt, the worst M1 in the entire game. And yes, the 25 damage is pretty good, but it's at the cost of the worst wind-up I've ever seen. Yes, it's the same as John Doe's, but it's just not as worth it in damage and cooldown. It just makes me want to cry because of how predictable and easy to avoid it is. It leaves you so open to Guest, who I already believed him to be Noli's hard counter. He can just easily block your attack and parry your ass right back to fucking Zimbabwe, where you can reflect on all your life choices. I just don't really like it, even though I've already, like, mentally adjusted to it. But, I don't know, I guess it makes him a bit different to the others in that way. But, whatever, because that's the least interesting thing we have to talk about here. Void Rush! Void Rush! Void Rush! Void Rush. Where do I even begin with Void Rush? I have some very mixed feelings on it. This is Noli's main damage dealing ability, so you'll be relying on it quite a lot, and whether it's good at that role is entirely debatable. I personally think that it's good in plenty of situations, however, it's easily counterable if you're a skilled survivor. I'll admit it also requires some skill to pull off, but in turn you get a solid reward and you'll feel extremely satisfied afterwards. Now, keep in mind that to get the entire use out of this ability, you need to land it twice on one survivor consecutively to deal the full 40 damage, which is easier said than done in some cases. Hitting someone with Hallucination 3 will immediately ground slam them, which is something I actually never noticed I was doing until I read more into Void Rush on the description page. That's fine, I guess, although you miss out on a potential 50 damage by skipping the first dash, which is unfortunate. Oh, and by the way, you can also use it to become the fucking Winter Soldier from Marvel Rivals and use it to bounce off several survivors.
Armed and dangerous! Again! Again! Again!
Although, I wouldn't really recommend doing this because it only does a low 10 damage, which makes very little difference. Rather than using it for chip damage, you should mainly use Void Rush to focus on a single target. Now, not a lot of people do this, but you can also use this ability for very quick traversal. Because Void Rush is so fast, lasts for a long time, and can be cancelled at will, it's perfect for covering large distance across the maps. For example, I recommend using Void Rush when the game begins, allowing you to immediately reach the survivor spawns like your Wally West. I also recommend using it here like I did at the start of Last Man Standing, so if the last survivor is far away enough when it begins, you'll get more value and save more time if you Void Rush straight away to their location. The main issues with this ability come in when you consider that many maps don't really allow for this kind of movement. Since the windup is very noticeable, survivors have plenty of time to get behind cover or whatever, and by then, Noli is pretty much screwed as he goes flying right past, or flings himself into a wall and gives himself a brain damage or something. Moreover, Void Rush is easy to predict for a character like Guest, who's legitimately unaffected by this ability if he just blocks and parries you. You gotta bait him first. Now, as you know, I'm a console player. And yes, this does affect the way the ability works negatively. For months and months, I've begged for a console sensitivity slider, as currently we're locked in at a pretty low turning speed. And I'm genuinely getting angry that this hasn't been sorted out yet, because it's such a small thing, yet it does impact my gameplay and does limit me. This, of course, applies to Void Rush, as my slow turning speed makes Void Rush genuinely insufferable to use sometimes, as it's much harder to like set up and control than a PC player would have. Anyway, I'm sick of talking about Void Rush. That's all. It's pretty good overall and very satisfying to pull off, even if it does have some pretty big flaws. I hope it doesn't end up being or becoming completely useless as more survivors learn how to counter it. Otherwise, I'll probably have to fucking kill myself. Nova is just... It's certainly something. I think it's pretty situational and can be really good if you pull it off right. But it does pretty much everything Corrupt Nature does, but just worse. I personally think the 15 damage is just a nothing burger at a distance. I reckon I'd probably do more damage by pissing on the survivors. Look, even if it has a large radius, it's just... It's also pretty easy for any person with a brain to just dodge it. It doesn't pass through walls or anything or slow you down or anything like Corrupt Nature does, so you can't really benefit from using it at a distance. The main gimmick with Nova, of course, is that it pulls survivors to the center, which can actually make some pretty satisfying combos with Noli's shitty M1. So I actually think using Nova more close up is the best way to use it, as it secures a 40 damage rather than just 15. You can also manually detonate it by pressing the ability again at the cost of a smaller hitbox. Just thought I'd mention that. I think it's rarely worth doing in my experience. I like never do it. Now, listen, I actually would have liked to have seen the original version of this ability called Implant implemented here. Basically, you were able to lunge forward and implant Noli's Void Star into a survivor's back, where the survivor would then turn into basically a ticking time bomb and explode after a while to deal some damage. This would have made the mechanic way more interesting, in my opinion, and would assist with crowd control, as it would deter the other survivors from helping the one with the implant, you know? Think about it. This could allow survivors to feel more involved in the gameplay, right? To take risks, as they would only be able to help the affected survivor at the risk of losing some of their own health. More quick decision making means more immersive gameplay, in my opinion, right? That makes sense, surely. Now, since Noli already suffers against large groups of people at once, this could have been a more intriguing way to solve that problem. But no! Instead we got Corrupt Nature 2, Electric Boogaloo, for some reason. I don't even hate Nova. I just think there was a lot of other fun ways to implement it. I don't know. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Alright, so I actually have very little complaints about his final ability, Observant. It's easily the most unique part about his kit, and I actually think it's really clever, because being able to teleport to any generator on the map is actually really cool, and allows you to cover large distances quite quickly. It also inflicts different hallucination levels depending on how close the survivor is to the generator Noli is teleporting to, which helps to increase the damage of Void Rush on close survivors. You also can't be stunned out of the ability, which is a nice touch, as otherwise you might just get your ass cheeks torn open by a Shedletski or 2-time waiting for you on the other side. Of course, Observant is also the main tool to highlight and locate survivors with the hallucination passive, and I'd say it does a pretty damn good job at it, with close survivors having a brighter purple highlight and further survivors having a much darker purple highlight. It's unique and interesting, and I'm definitely a fan of it. Side note, I also really like the noise Noli makes before and after he teleports. I don't know why, it just tickles my brain. I like how it's also pretty fair for the survivors too, as they get an extremely noticeable visual and very loud audio warning when Noli's using this ability. And it also plays a special sound cue on the generator he's about to show up on. This allows for the survivors to scatter before Noli can touch you inappropriately. So yeah, that was his entire kit. Explained. Okay, let's conclude. Overall, was Noli worth the tedious 6-month wait? No. No, he wasn't. I'm going to be brutally honest. I actually find him kind of boring and uninteresting to actually use, and a little more entertaining to go against as a survivor. And I know I'm not alone in that opinion. It just annoys me. It feels like there were so many awesome opportunities to make Noli something truly unique and special, but they ended up just turning him into an all-rounder. He's just a watered-down version of Cool Kid in gameplay. Like, the fact that we have 5 killers, only 5 in this game, and 2 of them are already this similar when there are literally hundreds of possibilities for killer concepts, it's a little frustrating, isn't it? I mean, I'll still probably use Noli quite a lot though, just because I've liked this myth in particular for many years now, and I actually really like his design. Also, the sound effects and voice lines, they get old after a while, but I still enjoy the references, to be fair. He also has a few cool skins out there that allow me to escape from that god-awful chase music. Oh my god. Honestly, you know what? I'm just glad that Noli came out, finally. It seemed like he was the main tumor, you know, when developing the game. And now that he's done and dusted, we can finally move on from this painful era and start getting new updates a lot more frequently. Oh, right. I think that'll do it for today. My throat's getting sore from Noli's big fat schlong entering me every time I try to play this game. Why did I write that in the script? So, did you agree with my points and opinions? Do you want to kill me for them? Let me know in the comments below. I hope you enjoyed. Don't forget to subscribe. See you in the next one. Yada yada. Bye bye. Bye bye. Bye bye.